Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, January the 23rd, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Hope your week is treating you well so far. Hope you had a great weekend. Some of us finally got some nicer weather, calmer, quieter, warmer weather. That's nice for a change after the way this winter has gone. So hopefully it sticks around for a while. Um, Having said that, you can tell I have a voice tonight, which I didn't have last week. Last week was kind of rough. I probably should have just canceled last week, but we power through it, so it's all good. But anyway, as always, to start the show, let me remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to the show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to follow us on Facebook as well. And search for us on Facebook by using the title In the Spotlight 411, and make sure that you like our fan page, and that way you can interact with us and all that good stuff. So, all right, so here we are again, first of two shows this week. So tonight will be a jam-packed show because Thursday is going to be an all-wrestling show. So tonight we'll do our usual entertainment stuff, box office, BTV highlights. We'll also, of course, big news today, the Oscar nominations and the SAGs took place on Sunday, so we'll talk about those. We'll also talk about today's Oscar nomination announcement, which was shocking for a number of reasons. We'll talk about that. We will what else we're going to so we'll do all that on the entertainment side of things. On the sports side of things, we have conference championship Sunday to talk about, the big games from the NFL on Sunday, and we'll talk about the latest college basketball headlines, and that'll be all we do on sports. Nothing else really going on. I know the NBA had their all-star game selections, but nothing really there struck me as being major enough to talk about, so we'll leave it at that. Thursday, as I mentioned, will be an all-wrestling show previewing WWE's Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We'll have a lot to talk about. We'll talk about, obviously the Rumble itself. We'll make predictions for all the matches, go, analyze all that good stuff, and address questions and comments from the fans. Again, you can submit questions before the show or during the show on Thursday, so please keep that in mind if you'd like to participate. And then we'll do other things. There's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, we had Raw 25 last night. You have SmackDown tonight, the Enzo Amore stuff. There's a lot of stuff we have to talk about. We'll do all that on Thursday when we talk wrestling on Thursday. We'll leave all of it for that night because that's when it's more appropriate to bring it all up. So Thursday, an all wrestling show previewing the Sunday's Royal Rumble pay-per-view event. So you want to tune in for that. Also, Thursday is significant for another reason, and that is because we have two deadlines on Thursday. Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern is also the deadline for the winning ballots for the 8th annual In the Spotlight Film Awards. So if you haven't gotten your ballot, which most people have, but if you haven't, you have until Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And also for those that would like to participate in the live vote of the awards, those awards will be voted on live during the Film Awards next Tuesday. If you'd like to submit your nominations, suggestions for those awards, you have till 9 o'clock p.m. this Thursday as well. So both items due at 9 o'clock p.m. this Thursday. Again, all submissions can be done by email only at itspotlight411@gmail.com. So make sure that you get everything in this week on both, in regards to both submissions if you want to participate. And then, of course, next Tuesday, a big show for us. The 8th annual In the Spotlight Film Awards. We're doing them on a Tuesday. I can't remember if we ever done it on a Tuesday. I know we did the TV Awards on a Tuesday once, but I don't think we've done the Film Awards on a Tuesday. So we'll have the Film Awards next Tuesday, and then next Thursday will be our normal sports entertainment mixture show on Thursday. And of course, we'll do a Super Bowl preview and all that good stuff on Thursday of next week. So we'll be able to switch up an order next week, but I think it's for the best. Plus, me having to go to that labor and delivery class, it makes sense to do it that way, so I don't have to rush around and all that kind of stuff. So that's the way next week will work. So next Tuesday will be obviously a very big show. And then we'll get into what's going to be going on after next week and what's going to be going on in February and beyond, because there's going to be some interesting schedule dilemmas we have to face going forward after next week. And we'll talk more about that next week. So I'll leave it for then. All right, so that's a little bit of a rundown of what's coming up and what's going to be going down, all that kind of stuff. So with that in mind, we have a lot to do tonight. As I said, we have a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover. So let's not waste any time here because I don't know what time my co-host will jump on. So let's just get going here, and we'll start off as we always do in sports, and we'll start off as we've done since the beginning of the NFL season, as we always do during the NFL season with the NFL. Um, you know, Obviously, I mentioned this. To me, the football season, in many ways, ends during divisional playoff weekend, wild card weekend, divisional playoff weekend. Those are the best 2 weekends. I've said that before because you get to play 4 games, and that way the chance of you getting at least 1 or 2 good games is better. And you saw that on Sunday because you only had 2 games. One game was terrific, and the other game was over with pretty quickly if you really look at it. And that's the risk you run. The less games you have, the more chance is that both games don't interest you, or you don't get a lot of interest as far as you only have 2 games. If one ends up being good, you're happy because at least you got one. Now, if the Super Bowl ends up not being good, then you're really screwed because that's the only game you got. But that's just the way it goes. And Sunday, the NFL had a half and half. I mean, look, even though that second game was a blowout, and anybody that thinks they saw that coming is full of it because nobody saw that coming. Okay. Maybe you saw it coming on the other side. You could see it coming on that side of things because the way the Vikings were playing. But I don't think anybody saw that coming from the Eagles. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But, even that game, that Eagle game, okay, even that Eagle game wasn't, it wasn't that it was boring, okay? It was just a blowout game. And if you don't like blowout games, you're tuned out, especially if you don't like either team. But at least there was still a little bit of I felt like it was just one of those games where you're so in awe, and maybe this is just me, of what's going on, of how a quarterback like Foles, who people forget. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the Eagle, but let me talk about him for just a second here to set the stage here. I People forget that this guy a couple years ago under Chip Kelly in 2013 had a Pro Bowl year. He is fully capable of quarterbacking an NFL team. Is he your first choice? No. But could he, he has an arm, he's got talent. There are moments, and people, I've had these conversations with people, and I'm not the only person that said it, but anytime me or anybody that believes this says it, we get kind of looked at like you're nuts. There are moments when Nick Foles is on that he reminds you a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. The way he throws the ball, the way he can, kind of move around and shake off the tacklers, shake off the sacks, move outside the pocket. He's not a guy that can run for first downs, no, but he's a guy that is very poised when he has to scramble. And when in those moments, and when he's on, like you saw on Sunday, he reminds you a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. He really does. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not even close, but he does remind you of it when he's on like that. So, he's always had that kind of talent in him. You just never expected it to show up again. I think people had wrote him off after Chip Kelly because they thought Chip Kelly was the perfect guy for Foles, and he kind of was. But as we saw on Sunday, he can tap into it. When he taps into it, when he's comfortable, and when he's on, boy, he can be fun to watch. And for me, that made that game fun to watch. Even if it was I'm actually a Viking fan. No, I'm an Eagles fan, but so obviously I enjoyed it. But there are people that didn't like either team that were still watching it because they wanted to see just how far this was going to go, how far this was going to carry on, and it carried on the whole game. He played a great game all the way through. Not have played a more perfect game if you were Foles. Could not play a more perfect game if you were Foles. And the Eagles could not have played a more perfect game against the Vikings than they did. You talk about Foles. You talk about the way the offense worked. What about the defense? If you watch that defense was phenomenal. They gave up the early touchdown, and then the Vikings never got anything else. They couldn't do anything. They were getting sacked. They were getting picked off. A team that never did not turn over the football. That was the team that they did that to everybody else. They never turned the football over. They were a well-oiled machine. They did that to you. The Eagles turned everything on the Vikings and did to the Vikings what the Vikings have done to everybody else all season long. It looked like the Eagles on defense were the Vikings, while the Vikings were completely lost. Completely lost. Ajayi had a great game running the ball, which helped take some pressure off of Foles at moments. Zach Ertz had a terrific game. It was, again, the Eagles in all aspects dominated the Vikings, could not have played a better game. Could not. And we know how good they've been at home, but the Minnesota Vikings have been terrific on the road. Terrific on the road. Did not matter on Sunday. It was dominance, pure and simple. And if the Eagles play, now they're going to have to play like that again. If they play like that again against New England, I feel very confident in their ability to beat the New England Patriots. I don't care how I know what the Patriots are. I know what Brady is, Belichick. But if the Eagles play the way they did on Sunday against what was, in many people's estimation, and really statistically, the best defense in the NFL, with a historic defense in many ways, okay? The Eagles lit that defense up for 38 points. Now, look, a lot of people are looking at this. Well, look what the Vikings did against the Saints late in that game in the previous week, where it was back and forth. Their defense looked like it came apart then, too. Maybe there is something. Maybe their defense did start to come apart there. Maybe their defense was running on fumes. Maybe they were over-reliant on their defense. I don't know. Either way, you can't take a damn thing away from the Eagles and what they did on Sunday. You can't. You can't. Terrific performance. And for the Vikings, look, they have a lot to build on. They got to get their quarterback situation figured out. They have to, they have other personnel things, but they'll be back. Their defense is good enough. Their running game is good enough. They'll be in the mix. And Zimmer's a great coach. They'll be back. But I mean, this is a very, like, as a coach, you'd rather, some people think, well, let's say they lost 38-35. Well, that hurts. I think it hurts more when this happens, because it makes you, especially after what happened the previous week when they won on that miracle. This hurts more to me. And I've heard that many people agree with that assertion. When you get blown out like this hurts more, because it makes you appear like you don't belong, makes everybody think that you're a joke, a fluke. It makes people question you, and it makes you almost doubt yourself. Especially when you have what happened the week before, when many people, it was a miracle, and many people thought you should have lost that game. You didn't get that miracle, so it really just causes a whole lot of other issues. And of course, losing in the conference championship game does hurt. People tell you it's harder to lose that game than it's to lose the Super Bowl, because if it's the Super Bowl, you're one or two teams playing. The season's over for everybody that game. Nobody else is playing after that. It's done. It's still hard, but when you're so close and you lose before you get there, it's even harder for many people. So you give the Eagles credit, and the Vikings, you'll be back. Very tough, but the Eagles, you give them credit. I wasn't going to talk about that game, but I guess I did. So why not? We talked about it. Now, that was the game that was the game that ended up the not so good game, especially if you didn't have a horse in the race there. Again, there were some people that still liked it and still enjoyed watching it. There were. But most people probably would have turned it off because they said that was done. The first game, however, was terrific. And, it had a great narrative, underdog with, the Colts that got cast off in Doug Marrone, with Tom Coughlin up above, who everybody feels is New England's kryptonite, Brady and the hand and all that nonsense. That was I'm sorry, that was nonsense. That was total nonsense. He had a cut on his hand. I understand that can compromise things. You wear the glove. I get that, but wow, much to do about nothing. Okay? Much ado about nothing. That whole thing was, and part of it was the media, part of it was the Patriots. I think the Patriots kind of just went along because they loved it and they thought it might have played. It was kind of like a mind game, really, but still, just a whole lot. That was a bunch of nonsense. But anyway, you had that stuff going on. Brady, Belichick, Kraft, it's supposed tension, and what this is their last go around together, and all, and then we're back in New England for the AFC Championship, #1 seed. They don't lose. A lot of things going on here in this game. Jacksonville looking to break through, Cinderella story, coming off the win against the Steelers, chip on their shoulder. Jacksonville played, I'm not going to say they played a perfect game to the extent that the Eagles did, okay? But Jacksonville played as good of a game in New England against the Patriots as I've seen a team play. Especially with a quarterback like Blake Bortles, who's been very good this postseason, mind you. Been very, very good. He's shown that you might have to wait a little bit and see. He might be worth keeping around and seeing what he can do if he can continue to get better. But the Jaguars played as good of a game as I've seen a team play in that building this time of year against the Patriots. And that wasn't, many people would say, oh, New England, they're not the same, blah, blah, blah. If this was just New England from 5-6 years ago, they would have crushed the Jaguars. No, they wouldn't have. Jacksonville played that good in that game. Fournette had a great game. Blake had a great game. Look, they had the lead at the half. You looked at the score at the half, it was 14-10. It was 17-10. You felt good. They had it to about 5 minutes left. Even with the Patriots continuing to charge in the second half, made a lot of, and we said it, nobody makes better in-game adjustments, especially halftime adjustments, better than Bill Belichick and the Patriots. They make the adjustments, and they're going to come at you in the second half, punch for punch, every time you turn around, and they did that. But the Jaguars, until the last 5 minutes, kept answering back, and then they just ran out of gas. I think, you saw their defense. Their defense did what they needed to do. It did. But ultimately, their offense just did not get the job done. And I've said this before. The playoffs, championship games, they have a way of having it. They always expose the problems that you have. If you lose, you usually lose because of the deficiencies that you have. Even though Blake has shown enough to give him another chance and see what he can do and see if he can continue to improve. The question mark for the Jaguars all season long has been the quarterback position. And while Blake made a lot of great plays and he had 293 yards, 23 for 36, and had a decent enough game, late in that game when things tightened up, when the Patriots, who, again, defensively are nothing special, but they're more than capable of making big plays, even with the defense they have, and locking things down. And when they did that late and Blake could not find anybody and Blake was kind of rattled and trying to figure out what to do, we saw what the problem with the Jaguars was. Is that you don't have a quarterback that can find a way to get it done. You just don't. There's times when he gets lucky. There's times when, defense misses an assignment and things open up. But you can't rely on those lucky breaks. You have to sometimes be able to make your own breaks. And the Jaguars were not able to do it, for one, mainly because they don't have the quarterback to be able to do it, but also because they don't really have the kind of receiving core to be able to do it. They have the running game with Leonard Fournette to be able to do that, but they don't have the passing game.
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute.
Oh, Mike, there you go. In the spotlight. Nice way to enter the show.
Yeah, fuck off. Anyway.
Sure.
Blake Bortles, this is his first major run as a quarterback, correct?
Correct.
When have the Jacksonville Jaguars you've been saying Jaguars. Let's try saying that. When the Jaguars ever needed a quarterback who is good under pressure? Jacksonville Jaguar quarterback, when they were in a Jaguar uniform, has ever needed to play under playoff pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have they?
No.
Yes, Tom Coughlin. Yes, Tom Coughlin has coached Super Bowl quarterbacks. Bowl against the Patriots. He knows how to handle it. Doug Marrone, St. Doug. I'm flirting with as the head coach with the NFL playoffs.
Right.
Still, has Jacksonville ever been in this position? This is uncharted territory for the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Uncharted. And based on that, they had number until midway through the fourth quarter. And yes, receiving core shit the bed. They didn't know what a football was. And yes, Blake Bortles was challenged like any other inexperienced to the playoffs quarterback that has ever played in the playoffs. Yes, Jacksonville showed up last week and decimated the invincible Pittsburgh Steelers. Unbeatable. And frankly, very upset Pittsburgh Steelers. They were going to steamroll the Patriots this week, weren't they? On their way to the Super Bowl. Their year, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Blake Bortles and the Jaguars, who played very well under pressure last week, blew out the invincible, undefeatable Pittsburgh Steelers. This week, however, is a different kind of animal. And when everything's on the line, this Jaguar quarterback has ever been in this position as the leading quarterback, as the first string quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this was a learning experience for the entire franchise. If the Jaguars are back here if their Jaguars are back here next year, and they make all the same mistakes, then you are absolutely right. Then we've seen all the deficiencies that Blake Bortles could have. Here, it was just inexperience. This is a guy who has like a bajillion Super Bowl appearances. Every Super Bowl he's played in, he's won, except the ones where he's played the Giants. They totally kicked the Patriots' ass, now didn't they?
You're not wrong. And look, I wasn't trying to make the case that they're not wrong to have these issues when they're a young team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that the problems that they do have, the lack of experience, the deficiencies they do have came out at the worst possible time for them. And that's pretty much why they lost. That's not a knock on them. They're there. Sometimes you get lucky and you can avoid those. Sometimes a young team just manages to get it done. You know, it's just the way it goes. That's the nature of the circumstances. So you're not wrong. And look, if they're in this situation next year and they don't show any growth, then yeah, it's a bigger issue. And sometimes it might be, and actually not sometimes, all the time, it's a personnel one. If you get in a situation next year and this is the same problem, then you got to figure out how to shuffle some personnel. If you had asked me 3 weeks ago, if I would have said Blake Bortles deserved another season as quarterback, I would have said no. So that goes to show you, he showed you enough here to get another season to see if he's in the situation again, what he can do. Because honestly, I don't think
I would have given him another season after he led the Jacksonville offense over a slaughter.
You mean the Steelers?
Invincible. Yes, the invincible and undefeatable and Super Bowl bound Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I thought he deserved it
Giving him
before
another
that.
season then.
You know.
Well, let's keep in mind who you're speaking to. Before this moment, I would have said, "Who the fuck is Blake Bortles?" And
Yeah.
even now, I'm thinking, "Who the fuck is Blake Bortles?"
So are most people.
I'm just playing devil's advocate because let's be honest here. The only
Sorry.
quarterback, your dog is there. The
Yeah.
only quarterback I was even aware in this championship round. Quarterback I knew was the only quarterback anybody knew, which was Tom Brady. I don't know why you're leaving. This is the football segment. Also, hi everybody. I'm in the spotlight tonight. Didn't bring me on. He interrupted my constitutional again, and I just felt like jumping on because there it is.
Well, maybe you should start having your constitutional another time, so when we can get this done. But anyway,
yeah, hey, you were late. Fuck off.
Last time I was early, and you bitched about me being early. Now you're bitching about me being late. Make up your mind.
No, you're going to get the bitching regardless of when it happens. Either be on time,
Okay.
Be on time. Much like Blake Bortles.
Maybe you should have more fiber.
And you too could defeat the undefeatable and invincible Pittsburgh Steelers, who were totally Super Bowl bound this year because they were so mad the Patriots got James Harrison.
Yeah, well, they thought James Harrison was done. They thought he was done, and apparently he's not because he made some big plays late in this game. But
nope. And James Harrison is going to the Super Bowl as a Patriot.
Well, I can do.
By the way, my diet has tons of fiber. Fuck off.
I can do a whole segment on the Steelers and how far they've fallen in terms of how they make decisions. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Look, the bottom line is this: Blake showed you enough. He showed you enough. That Steeler game, doing it to the Steelers again for the second time, was enough. It was the solidifying factor. So no matter what he did in this game, he was going to show that wasn't going to impact anything. But the fact he played this well in this game even further solidified his status, in my mind. Now, you give him another year, and you see it. Like I said, another year, if you're in the situation where it's against the Patriots or whoever you're playing, and this problem creeps up again, and and I would say this too, providing you have given him a little bit more to work with in terms of receiving. They're not all bad, but they need a little bit more there. They do need more there because there isn't a whole lot of guys that can just make plays. And because this ain't just about Blake being able to make plays. It's about receivers being able to make plays too. They don't have too many playmakers on this offense aside from Leonard Fournette from the running back position. That's kind of their problem. They can't create plays. You can't always just rely on the play itself to make the to be the play call and to do the job for you, or for the defense to be lax. You can't depend on that. You have to be able to make your own plays or make own opportunities sometimes. And to me, that was kind of the issue for them late. So you do take some of the onus off of Blake in that regard, but you also have to look at it from the standpoint too that Blake has shown so far that he can't create those plays. He can't, make do what Aaron does, what Tom does, what some of the big quarterbacks do. They find a way to get it done. They find a way to keep the play going long enough to be able to make the pass. Or, there's different ways that they do things. Now, again, this is his first go-round here. And this is a guy that nobody gave any credence to ever getting a team to even the playoffs. So it's one of those things. You wait and see how it goes. And, and you wait and see what he does next year. Part of the problem is you don't have any guarantee that you're going to be back in this position next year. That's the way the NFL works for you. You'd like to think the defense and the running game of the Jaguars is enough to be able to get them back to at least the playoffs next year. But will everything break right for them to get to this position again? Who knows? They're going to have a very angry Pittsburgh Steelers team to deal with. They got their rear ends handed to them twice, both times at home, once in the playoffs. But you don't know. Look, the bottom line is Jacksonville played a good enough game up until the last 5 minutes. And then they just offense, we couldn't make the plays late that the Patriots were able to make. And then their defense stepped up and locked them down, and then Jacksonville just didn't make the plays. And that's what they're going to have to respond to and learn to respond to and take from this experience is that when defenses get tight, even defenses that you don't give a lot of, you don't buy into a lot, like the Patriots aren't a great defense, but even a not so good defense can find a way to make plays late and lock things down. You have to try to find a way to make plays against a defense like that late, and they didn't do that. Now look, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. We all know about the 10 penalties to the 1. 10 for the Jaguars, 1 for the Patriots. There was some stuff on Twitter. The referees were interacting with the Patriots, joking around. Belichick, after the game, Tom Brady was kind of like congratulating the referee. The referee was congratulating him. Whatever the case may be, there was a lot of stuff going on. Look, I'm not going to do conspiracy theories here. I'm not going to do that. Do I think, I think one thing that's been mentioned by a lot of people, and I agree with, is that it was inappropriate for the refs to be interacting with the Patriots the way they were. And to be, kind of celebrating with them and interacting with them. Joking around is one thing, but it was a little bit too much. It kept happening into the level that it was happening late in the game. And after the game, I should say, was a little too much. And it did, I never buy into that kind of stuff because I don't think it's fair. It's not fair to the other team. It's not fair to it's not generally not fair. Okay. But here's the thing. When you do stuff like that, when stuff like that goes on to the level it did on Sunday, to the point where it was all over social media and it was covered and it was caught on camera numerous times, it makes people out there think more is going on. If you don't want that kind of nonsense being spread, then don't do that. An official's job is to try to remain as impartial as possible. And I'm not saying that they weren't impartial. All right? And I'm not saying they can't have a good time and joke around with the players. That's fine. But if you saw some of those, the pictures that were around and the way it was, and some of the interactions, you would understand why a lot of people wonder about what happened on Sunday. And the penalty discrepancy, among other things. You would understand why people are wondering. So, I felt like I should make mention of that. As far as my picks go, I picked the Patriots to beat the Jaguars, which they did, and I picked the Vikings to beat the Eagles. I had no faith in the Eagles, and I was wrong. So I went 1-1 on my picks for championship Sunday. And now we flip the script. We are down to 1 game. Forget about the Pro Bowl. Nobody's paying attention. We're down to 1 game. Now we're in that 2-week lull. Now next week things will get interesting because you have media day and you'll have all this stuff going on. This week is kind of the calm before the storm. Now I'm not going to make a prediction here tonight, and we're not going to do some comprehensive preview. We'll leave that for next week. I'm just going to give you a little thing to set things up here. You got the Eagles and the Patriots, a rematch of Super Bowl 39. Last time the Eagles were in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, Terrell Owens was the main wide receiver for the Eagles, and Donovan McNabb was the quarterback. I think it shapes up to be a fun game. I think now that you've seen what the Eagles did this past week, just makes it more, makes you feel a little bit better about them, that they'll be able to put at least a game here on the New England Patriots. People, the biggest question to this game, we'll talk more about this next week, is can Foles even come close to doing what he did on Sunday? If he does, if he plays a game similar to Sunday, then this is going to be one hell of a football game. If he doesn't, then this game could be over fast. Because really, that's what it's about. The Eagles defensively will do the job. And the one thing I like about the Eagles when you compare them to teams like the Vikings and the Jaguars, the Vikings and the Jaguars rely so heavily on getting to the quarterback and rushing the quarterback and, putting pressure on the front line of your offense. The Eagles are a little bit more balanced. Can they do those things? Yes, but they do a lot more with their secondary. They do a lot more with getting takeaways, locking down on receivers. They do a lot of that. And this kind of game, and a game where, against New England Patriots, who like to be able to make those big passing plays and shred your defense, I think that makes them a very good matchup for the Patriots, in that they will be able to lock some things down in the passing game against the New England Patriots. That's what I think makes this interesting. So I think the Eagles defensively are well-versed to take on the Patriots. The question is going to be whether they can run the ball effectively, whether Foles can put together a game even close to what he did on Sunday. If he does that, I think you have a good game. If he doesn't, then this game will be over fast. You'll be hoping the commercials are good. Bottom line. This is a game that I think a couple months ago, a lot of people thought we might get. And then the Eagles lost Carson Wentz. And you didn't think they'd get here. Well, they're here. Shows you how good they are. And look, if they had Carson Wentz here, then, who knows? But they don't. They have Foles. And he's capable. We've seen that. We'll learn a lot about Mick Foles. We already did on Sunday. We'll learn a lot more about him in this game. He has a chance to make history and do something unbelievable as a backup. And he's probably the best backup in the NFL. But still, this is an unbelievable story if he can complete this. An unbelievable story. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk more about the Super Bowl next week. Other than that, there hasn't been any other NFL news. I mean, Mike Vrabel got the Titans job, but nothing really big worth talking about. The coaching carousel has kind of settled the way we thought. Surmer to the Giants, looks like McDaniels to the Colts, Patricia to the Lions. So all that's kind of filtering itself out. So everything's kind of calming down there. Really, it's just about the Super Bowl and all that goes with it. And we'll talk more about that next week, and then that'll be it. The football season will be over, and all eyes will shift to the NBA All-Star Game and college basketball and all that fun stuff. So we'll see how that goes as we go along here. But that's the story for the NFL this week as you look ahead to Super Bowl 52 next Sunday. And now we jump, again, nothing really going on too much in baseball. NBA had their All-Star selections and reserves and all that stuff. But again, nothing that I think has to be talked about right this second. So we'll leave all that alone. We'll jump to college basketball, which didn't have the most eventful week, which is weird for January because it's in the middle of conference play. But yeah, not a very big week. There was a couple of big moments. Now the big story is that Kentucky has fallen out of the top 25. They've just completely fallen off over this last week. But that would be the big story right now is that, and we said that nobody knew what to make of Kentucky. Well, we're seeing that. Oklahoma's had a kind of a topsy-turvy week. They lost to Kansas State a week ago. They beat Kansas tonight. We're starting. Mike will tell you this, I'm sure. But a couple years ago, Clemson got off to a ridiculously good start, got into the top 25, and then everybody started going, Clemson. Well, guess what's happened to Clemson? Fallen off. They lose to North Carolina. They lose to...
Hey, Brian, don't spoil it. Did Clemson pull a Clemson?
Yes.
Oh, so they were great for the first half of the year, and once mid-January hit, they totally shit themselves.
I'm just gonna give you this right now, Mike. Today they played Virginia tonight. Okay.
Okay.
They played
so
Virginia
all
tonight.
simple enough. All they had to do is guard the 3 and would have been fine.
I want you. Are you able to look at the scores right now?
In theory, look at the scores.
I want you to look at the Clemson Virginia score, and I want to get your reaction.
Okay. Live reaction. I'm on the clock here. All right. Loading the score because the score is the most trustworthy sports app in the iOS and Android Center. You might think ESPN, but no. Do the every single time there's an update.
Right.
Shout out to the Villanova Wildcats, 89-69 win over Providence. Okay, let's take a look at this Clemson score. My God. Oh my God.
You understand now?
If I were the University of Virginia, I'd give everybody who came to this game tonight a refund. Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Good one. Barn burner.
In fact, you can tell this is the game. Halftime of this game was when Clemson's season shifted to where the Clemson of traditional second half Clemson comes out and crap the bed. This is where they fall off wholeheartedly and completely to where they might be an NIT team. It is the middle of this game. All right, the fact that they allowed Virginia 61 points is pretty standard because nobody has understood this yet. All you have to do is put your arms up outside perimeter on Virginia and they don't score because you're guarding the 3 and that's how Virginia scores.
Right. Right.
It has been in guarding and putting Virginia away for and speeding them up. You guard the 3 and Virginia falls to shit. But when you only score 13 points in the second half, when you score 36 points for the game, welcome. This is the Clemson of old. This is the Clemson of old. How embarrassing.
They just need to hope they got off to enough of a start to kind of maintain. Because they're 15 and 3. Well, I take that back. They're not. Okay. Let's take a look.
16 and 4.
16 and 4 now. So yeah. They laid an egg. They laid an egg. So let's go back again. They started the week losing to North Carolina, because Kentucky lost to South Carolina early in the week. Oklahoma started the week
tradition.
Losing to Kansas State, which again, tough place to play, and more. Again, that's been the theme this year. Guess what? We don't win road games, unless you're Villanova. Yeah, pretty much, because they beat Georgetown late last week. SMU beat Wichita State on the road, which that's a good road win for SMU. Texas beat Texas Tech this week too. You had that. Stanford beat Arizona State, who is just completely just gone. They're falling completely off here.
State's gonna make a comeback because they are in the Pac-12, the Conference of Champions. They are going to dominate, and mark my words, Brian, the Pac-12 is going to have 17 teams in the tournament this year. 17! Yes. That is going to be a new record. All 17 Pac-12 teams. Don't read into Arizona State losing, because getting a loss in the Pac-12 is better than these ham and egger conferences.
As you can tell, Mike got his exposure to Bill Walton this week.
It has been a little while since I've seen Bill Walton on commentary, and good Lord, I missed it, I guess.
I warned you. I told you about it.
Brian, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time, but good Lord.
Nothing like experiencing it live.
Nope.
It's an experience. Truly is.
Yes. Accurate statement.
You got to give props to Dave Pash for powering through. Oh God!
By the way, apparently I'm not saying this. I'm jokingly saying this, but It happens once a week, when Dave Pash calls CBS and asks if there's openings for broadcasters.
Yeah.
And they say, why, Dave? Why? Because Bill Walton talked about acorns this week when I was trying to call a basketball game. That's why.
Oh, goodness. Good times. All right, so going back, we had Stanford, Arizona State, Alabama beat Auburn, because Auburn's kind of stuck up on people. They're 16 they were 16-2. Creighton beat Seton Hall. Missouri beat Tennessee. Again, more road losses. Ohio State beat Northwestern, but Northwestern's not very good. But again, a lot of road losses across the league here. In the traditional game between WCC powers, I should say, St. Mary's beat Gonzaga 74-71. They are now 18. At least they were 18-2, which means St. Mary's is probably going to make the tournament, much to me and Mike's chagrin. Because they won the one game they probably had to win. They won it on the road, by the way, in a year when nobody's getting road wins, so that's probably going to put them in. Nebraska beat Michigan. I know, shows you how far the Big Ten has fallen. It really does. Anyway, let's see. On Saturday, I'm looking over the Saturday games. Yeah, Oklahoma lost to Oklahoma State as well. Wichita State lost to Houston on the anniversary of the greatest game ever. Houston, UCLA. So Houston, who again nobody's been paying attention to, they're 15-4 now. They beat Wichita State, so that's gonna get some eyes. Iowa State beat Texas Tech. Now Texas Tech, who we said before, has struggled on the road. Last year they couldn't get a road win. This year they got one. This is hurting them, so we're gonna see where Texas Tech falls here. Xavier beat Seton Hall, who's also falling on hard times as well. Arizona State managed to beat Cal, so at least they stopped the bleeding there.
Texas Tech, Brian, but I mean, Texas Tech did get a win today against Oklahoma State,
which they needed to get
on
Monday,
Tuesday, Saturday, one of those days.
Saturday, yeah. So yeah, they got a win they need to get, but at the same time, it's kind of like compared to where they were about 2 weeks ago. The big thing I would say is we talked about Kentucky. We all looked at the Kentucky-Florida game as something that we had to pay a lot of attention to, especially the one at Kentucky, right? Well, Florida beat Kentucky at Kentucky Saturday night, which is partially why Kentucky has fallen out of the top 25. Florida is 6-1 in the SEC. Kentucky is 4-3. Now, I got to look at the scores tonight because I'm looking at this as of Saturday. But, again, look, Kentucky has no margin for error now. And they still got to play Florida in Florida. There's no margin of error now. I said that I didn't think Kentucky was going to win the SEC this year. And it's looking like that's very likely. So, Notre Dame had a loss to Clemson, which makes Notre Dame look bad now compared to what happened tonight. Kansas State beat TCU on Saturday. I'm just trying to look over these games get to tonight because I want to talk about the significance of tonight. Other than the Virginia game we talked about. Let's see. Nothing on Sunday, Monday. Let's go over the list here. TCU beat West Virginia, which was a big game on Monday. That's a big win for TCU. I mean, they're 3-5 in the Big 12, but that is a big win. Virginia Tech beat North Carolina, which they desperately needed, by the way, because Virginia Tech was starting to fall off the map. All right, so then tonight you got Villanova, who was down early against Providence. I was tracking that game. They were down. But they got the job done, 89-69. We talked about the Virginia Clemson game. Oklahoma beat Kansas, we mentioned earlier as well. Texas Tech did beat Oklahoma State, as Mike mentioned. Tennessee beats Vanderbilt tonight. So the big stories after this week is, Texas Tech and Arizona State continuing to fall. They did both get wins eventually, but they're still falling off. Oklahoma came into tonight really a must-win to stop the bleeding. They got it against Kansas, a huge win for them. Kentucky, we mentioned, falling off out of the top 25. The loss to Florida, which is very significant because now there's no mark. If Kentucky's going to win the SEC, they cannot afford to lose many more games in the SEC. They just can't. They might be able to spot themselves one more, and that's about it. We'll see how the SEC continues to shape out. You got teams like Auburn and Alabama very much in play as well with Florida, and so we'll see how that hashes out. And the ACC continues to be tough. The Big East continues to be tough. Wichita State had a bad week. And look, Wichita State's in a better conference now. They're going to lose more games. They're not in the Missouri Valley anymore. They're not. They're going to lose more games. They're still a good team. I still think they're going to be a team to keep an eye on in March. But you know what? This is a good learning experience for them. They'll learn a lot from this, and they'll get better as a team because of this, I think. So, I'm not ready to write them off yet. The Big Ten continues to stink. The Pac-12 looks like it continues to stink, but we knew that already. So that's about where you're at right now here as at the moment. As we're about to, in another week, we turn the calendar to February, and then we start talking about bracket busters, and we start bringing out the bracket bugle, which we'll start doing. Mike loves that.
I suppose I do, don't I?
We got some of your usual suspects here that are going to be on the bubble. I'm sure you love talking about them.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, a lot of eye testing. Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you see Mary's in?
They're probably going to be, but
Well, I don't know, Brian. They're on the bubble.
Yeah. Yeah. Over the next week, there are a couple of games. I think this week could be a better week than last week, even though there was a couple of good games over the last week. Tomorrow night, a team that I think you got to keep an eye on for an NCAA tournament, but Marquette will be playing Xavier. That's a big game for Marquette.
Yep.
Chance to get a nice road win and top 10 win. Florida's back in the top 25. They get South Carolina tomorrow. South Carolina's been kind of you can't take them lightly, so that's an interesting game there. Auburn, Missouri, because Missouri is very much a team to keep an eye on going forward. So keep an eye on that game from a bubble standpoint. We're going to start talking about that now as we head towards February. Thursday, you got Michigan at Purdue. Purdue's number 3 team in the country, pretty much by default. Yeah, by default, pretty much. But they've had a good season, but the Big Ten's down. But still, they've had a good season. So game worth checking out probably. Probably won't be a most fun game to watch, but Ohio State somehow become 13. I don't know how that's happened. Keep an eye on that Colorado-Arizona game tomorrow. I mean, on Thursday, because Colorado's already pulled off some upsets. So that might be a game to kind of keep an eye on from a standpoint of an upset. Let's see.
SMU at UConn.
Yep, SMU at UConn's a good one. That's a good one. BYU St. Mary's, because BYU is going to be a bubble team probably. And obviously St. Mary's is number 16 in the country now. So, that one might give them some help. Wisconsin. Friday got Wisconsin. I don't know why Wisconsin. I don't know why the Big Ten keeps playing Friday night games. That's interesting. That's second week in a row Michigan State's on a Friday night. Wisconsin, who's not really in play, but Michigan State, which should be an interesting game, I guess. You want to watch a Big Ten game on a Friday night. Saturday, Texas Tech will play out of conference against South Carolina in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. That could be a little bit of an upset. I think the way Texas Tech has played on the road and the way that the teams that they've lost to, I could see South Carolina beating them. NC State, North Carolina, Baylor, Florida. Now, here's a game that's got a lot. It's going to be a big game for Virginia. Virginia Duke on Saturday at Cameron. Virginia's 8-0 in the ACC. Duke's 5-2. If Virginia wins this game, they're probably winning the ACC regular season because they ain't going to blow that many games down the stretch. So that's a big game for Virginia. Big game for Virginia. Oklahoma, Alabama. Again, SEC Big 12 Challenge. Tennessee, Iowa State. A&M, who has just, everybody was high on them early, but then they're going to get Kansas off a loss. So good luck to them at Allen Fieldhouse. So that's going to be fun for them, I'm sure. Let's see here. LSU's falling off. So Kentucky gets West Virginia. on Saturday night. So it doesn't get easier for Kentucky on the road too. So that's a good game for them there. Colorado gets Arizona State again. Colorado's kind of been like a team to kind of keep an eye on here as they've been pulling off upsets. Sunday, so Marquette gets Xavier this week, but they also get Villanova at home on Sunday. So good opportunity for them. Michigan State, Maryland on Sunday as well. Purdue, Indiana. Clemson gets Georgia Tech. They might be able to get a win there, I suppose. Notre Dame, Duke on Monday. About a month ago, I would have said that's a good game, but here I don't think it will be. Kansas State at Kansas State. So a little bit of a rivalry there. Kansas doesn't have the best record there, but we'll see what happens there. North Carolina, Clemson. So Clemson has a chance to get blown out badly on 2 straight Tuesday nights. House to Indiana, Florida, Georgia, Xavier, St. John's, all next Tuesday. So that's some of the big games coming up over the next week. So we should see some interesting stuff the next few days over the next week and see where we're at next week. Next week will probably be the last time we do a college basketball segment without the Bracket Bugle, without the Bubble Watch. We'll probably bring that back the week after. Because by that point, we'll be firmly into February and down the stretch. So it makes sense to bring it back at that point. So we'll see. Mike, any other college basketball thoughts?
You forgot St. Bonaventure and George Washington.
Oh, I did.
Now, neither of those teams right now is doing particularly well in the A10. That doesn't mean anything come A10 tourney time. And St. Bonaventure's already got a couple of quality wins, so watch out for them. Keep your eye on the mid-majors, Brian. The year. Continue to screw them over in favor of Duke.
All right. Okay. Good. Those are good. Okay. Good stuff. So we'll see what happens over the next week here as we flip the calendar to February next week, and that's when you're in the home stretch of the college basketball season. Believe it or not, that's what happens right after the Super Bowl. Pretty much hit the home stretch. And then you get the NBA All-Star game, the home stretch of the college basketball season, the tournament, and then we're right back to the baseball season in the spring again. It's a cycle of life.
Boo.
Way it goes. All right. So we got through the sports part of things. There's nothing else really to cover there. Now let's jump to entertainment. And let me do a quick little box office beat here because, well, not much to say off of this week. Non-holiday week. A repeat winner at the box office. Jumanji three-peats at number 1, which, when we talked about three-peats about a month ago, we thought would be Star Wars. It was Jumanji, who repeated at number 1 with 19.5 million, which was more than I thought it would get. It only dropped 30%, but it did better than I thought it would, so give them credit for that. So 19.5 million, so very, very good. And then it was followed by 2 of the new releases last weekend. 12 Strong, which debuted at second with 15.8 million, which was a lot better than I thought it would get. Maybe you can thank Chris Hemsworth for that, because he has a star power. That probably helped, coming off with Thor and everything. So that probably helped. I thought that would be just more. It would play just more to older audiences, but I guess it made it some inroads with younger audiences as well. It did better than expected, so good for them. Then Den of Thieves came in third with 15.2 million, so very close there. And I did not think this movie would make more than 10 million. I didn't think it'd make more than 8. I didn't see much promotion for anything, but it did. Did better than expected, 15.2 million. Outside of that, you had a lot of holdovers. The Post, which dropped from second to fourth with 11.7 million, a very good hold of 39.5% in terms of being drop off. So very good hold there. Dropping from fourth to fifth, The Greatest Showman, 10.6 million, a good hold there. 14.6% only dropped off. Moving up from seventh to sixth was Paddington 2 with 8 million. So not bad for its second week. Given kids are back in school and such. And then you had The Commuter, which dropped from third to seventh with a $6.6 million total, a 51% drop off, which you figure would happen. You figure it'd be steep. Star Wars dropped from sixth to eighth with $6.5 million. 44% drop, another steep drop, but again in its 6th week. And right now stands at 1.2 billion, about to cross 1.3. So, it's slowing down, but you expected it to. So, I said earlier it'd be about $1.5 billion. I thought it would make. So it's probably going to finish right around there. Dropping from 5th to 9th was Insidious, the last key with 5.8 million, a 52% drop up in its 3rd week. Again, very expected. Nothing else finished over 5 million. The week's other new release, Forever My Girl, came in with 4.2 million, which again, I expected to be under 5 million. It was, so did maybe even a little bit better than I expected, but still under 5 million there. And we got everything else under 5 million, including some of those movies that we've been hearing a lot during the awards season. Phantom Thread, I, Tonya, Darkest Hour, Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, all under 5 million, well under, all within like the $1.5 million to about $3.2 million range. So all in all, it ends up being a better than expected week at the box office. I said that a lot of these movies would be closer together. A lot of them were, but they end up grossing better. I said Jumanji did better than I expected, 12 strong, and then Thieves both did better than expected. Then Thieves did a lot better than I expected. Post held well, Greatest Showman held well. So all in all, it ends up being, even though it was a quieter week at the box office and kind of like a transitional week, ends up being a better week altogether. So I think you can it's not a great week, but it's a decent week. So that's what you rule it. So very positive for the box office here as they move through January, and now set the stage for the last weekend of January, which features, now we start to flip. Again, a couple weeks out of winter break, some early spring breaks, kids are going to be out of school, and your first kind of taste of some blockbusters. And here you get one, really, this is the first kind of true blockbuster and kind of the, franchise kind of blockbuster of the year. Not one that you expect a huge amount of gross from, a historic gross from, but one that gets attention and will do okay and kind of starts to, tip the scales back towards, building things up at the box office and get more tried and true, franchises and known commodities, if you will. So you have that this week here in the form of Maze Runner, The Death Cure. That will be the big release this weekend. The sci-fi venture from Fox will be opening in 3,800 theaters. Already made 15 million overseas. PG-13. Dylan O'Brien back in this one. This movie was delayed because of his injuries, because of an accident he had. Again, his franchise hasn't always done great. It's done well enough. You expect it to do okay. I don't think it'll be a shockingly big number, especially since there's no like holidays or anything, but it'll do okay. Other than that movie, the only other movie you got to really mention here is the expanding release of Hostos, a drama from Entertainment Studios, expanding into 2,850 theaters, R-rated, and starring Christian Bale, Rosamund Pike, and Ben Foster. It's already made 1.6 million domestic. Gotten some good reviews, has a little bit of buzz, but again, this is not something that's factoring much into award season right now. It's more for next year, so it doesn't have that benefit going for it. It won't do much. Maybe you can see it doing maybe 3.5, 4 million tops. It's just not enough theaters. It's R-rated, and not enough people are probably paying attention to it, even though it's been promoted enough. So I don't expect that to factor into too many things here right now as far as this weekend goes. So this weekend really will belong to Maze Runner, which will take the #1 spot, I would imagine. Jumanji's dropped enough to be able to give that up. So I think you're looking at Maze Runner, The Death Cure in first. I'm going to go with around 30, 35 million. It could do better than that. I just don't trust it to do better than that. So I'm going to kind of lowball it and give it the $30 to $35 million treatment. Especially given how things did better at the box office last weekend. You figure there might be a little bit of an offset there. So 30 to 35 million for Maze Runner, The Death Cure. Jumanji in second. Based on the way it's been holding, I'll go with 14.5, 15 million, right around there. It won't probably drop off too much the way it's been going, It doesn't seem to matter whether kids are out of school, families are home or not. It seems to do well no matter what. So about 14.5, 15 million for that movie. I'll say 12 strong around maybe 9, 10 million. Den of Thieves around 8 million. Post around 7 million. Greatest Showman around 7 million as well. They'll probably be right around each other. Paddington around 6. And then I think everything else. And then Star Wars around maybe 5.5. I think the Commuter will drop below 5 million because it's been dropping really sharply. And I think everything else will be under 5 million for this week. So that's the way I see the box office going this weekend. So not a whole lot to talk about in regards to that, but it should be an okay enough weekend led by the Maze Runner to kind of keep things going here as we prepare to flip the calendar to February. Mike, you have any thoughts on the box office?
Jumanji's hella good. You should watch it.
There's Mike's endorsement for the week. All right, so again, not much to talk about this week in regards to the box office. Next week, not much to talk about either. The only new release next week is a film called Winchester: The House That Ghost Built. It's a horror film from Lionsgate. And I don't even think that's going to do very much. So it could end up being a repeat for Maze Runner. Depending on how Jumanji holds up, could be Jumanji. Next weekend might not be a great weekend. Maybe they're good. Maybe they should be glad they got last weekend because kind of gave them a surprisingly better weekend than they thought. And this weekend won't be bad either because next weekend could be really bad. So that the last 2 weeks might be able to help them in terms of only having one really bad week. But that's the good news is after next week, things will build up again. You'll have 4 new big releases the week after, and then the week after that, you'll have Black Panther and some other big movies coming. So things will turn around soon, but as far as building things up, but this week won't be too bad. Next week could be ugly. But we'll talk more about that next week. So that's the box office story here, box office beat for this week. We're not going to do any film picks this week. I figure we'll leave those for next week. Because I think we did Disaster Artist already. So we're into these summer movies. I'll wait on Star Wars. I won't do Star Wars yet. And plus, again, there's a couple other movies I still want to see. So we'll leave that alone for right now. We'll stick to the TV picks of the week this week. And leave the film stuff for another day. And I'm just gonna go because I'm gonna be quick because we did this on Thursday. And whenever we do this like kind of quick turnaround, we do it on Thursday and then we have it again on Tuesday. It's kind of hard to do because unless there's something that you watch on the weekend or maybe you just catch up on something on the weekend, might not be a whole lot to talk about if you don't watch anything on Friday or Monday or whatever. So, I literally only watched one show over the last 4 days. And that was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I did not watch anything else because I watched football on Sunday. I watched wrestling yesterday. I was just generally too busy. So I only watched one show, and that was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I thought, look, and again, this at the risk of fanboying out for 5 minutes, I'm not going to do that because that's not fair. I thought it was probably my favorite episode of the season in terms of emotion, in terms of I'm gonna say writing, but in terms of emotion, it was nice to finally give May something to do because she's been they haven't been able to do a lot with her because they're still working around Ming Na's injury and but they did their best, and this week they gave her a pretty good spotlight here. And I thought it was really good and tapped into aspects of the character that don't get shown too often. They moved the story very well. It was a little confusing. I've said to people and a lot of people that I've talked about the episode said this too. It's one of those episodes that you might want to watch a couple times because there's a lot of information. And you're dealing with time loops and time travel and stuff. It can get a little complicated, but if you watch it maybe once or twice, or watch certain scenes once or twice, more than just the original time you watch it, it'll be pretty apparent what the deal is. But it was really well. It was a really well directed, well written episode, and again, kind of hits you in the feels a little bit late in the episode. And it's shaping up. You can tell they're getting to the end of the story because things are just really picking up again. Ever since they came back from the holiday hiatus, things have been moving a lot quicker. So, yeah, I think so. You can tell they're getting to the end of the arc. So, Yeah, I'd highly recommend that. That was a really good show. Now, I'm sure Mike has plenty more than I have. So, Mike, go ahead. Your TV highlights.
How dare you assume that I had all of these picks?
I should never assume. That's a bad thing.
Like, yes, I do watch more television than you.
Generally.
It's on the queue, generally week to week. However, I can say that because of the quick turnaround, I didn't get to a lot of my usuals. If you will. I did watch Speechless. I'm caught up on Speechless. And there were some awkward moments to it. Overall, it was a solid episode, solid lesson. The one thing you could always say about Speechless is it is always genuinely funny. So Speechless is one of the most underrated comedies. I think it returns tonight with new episodes, so that I've finished catching up. And Drunk History is of course, the show where comedians get plastered and historical events, usually based on a setting. The most recent one that I saw was about events in Miami. Clark Gable. Solid show. Drunk History is always funny. Funny shows on television. You guys should all watch Drunk History. It's on Comedy Central. It's one of the few non-South Park shows that I go out of my way to watch on Comedy Central. Totally worth it. I will always say that Stephen Colbert is the best late night host on television. I think the Late Late Show with James Corden is fantastic. Kimmel's doing unbelievable work. And the Daily Show with Trevor Noah is still fantastic, especially in these tough political times. Especially just had Michael Wolff on, quoting his book Fire and Fury, which I'm sure you've heard about. Own that book. May have even read that book. Might be on chapter 3 of that book right now. Who's to say? It was a solid interview. It did heavily promote the book, obviously, but it was legitimately and interesting because it did cover some topics that weren't in the book itself. So conducted a good interview. The Daily Show is always a fantastic show. Yes, I highly recommend The Daily Show. So about it for the moment. Taken came back. Did I say Taken came back last week?
Mm-hmm.
Taken the series came back. It's episode 2 yet, but I know it's on. I know it's coming back. Oh, show that came out this week. Is on Ovation or PBS. I'm not sure which one. Like Mysteries. This is a period mystery piece set in Australia in the I want to say early 1950s. Is a police. He is the police surgeon. He's also an independent surgeon, but he seems to be the only person who ever investigates with any success for the police, as is tradition with these shows. Really good show. Well acted. The setting is great. The costumes are great. It's always well directed, always well written, and Dr. Blake is fantastic. So there you go. There's an out of the box one that you've got coming your way. So I gave you like 4 shows, which is 4 more than I had.
Yeah, it's hard when we do these quick turnarounds. It really is. It's hard when we do these quick turnarounds because you don't, unless you manage to catch up on things over the weekend, you don't really have a whole lot to go with. But we, hey, Gotta do what we gotta do. We have a wrestling show on Thursday, so that's why we gotta do things. So, all right, so that's it. Not a lot, but what we could do. Our TV highlights for this week. All right, now to end the show, I said that we'd talk about what happened on Sunday with the SAGs, and of course, what happened this morning with the Oscar nominations. Now, first, let me briefly talk about the SAGs on Sunday, because realistically, there's not a lot to talk about regarding the SAGs. First of all, I give Kristen Bell credit. I thought she did a great job. The first time they've used a host, she was great. I thought the event was fine. It was nice to see Wonder Woman recognized, among others. I thought generally, there was a lot of winners I liked. There was a lot of winners I didn't like. It was interesting to see 3 Billboards do as well as did once again. But then you also had Shape of Water do reasonably well. So it kind of gave you the impression that, okay, things, 3 Billboards is still something to kind of keep an eye on when it comes to the Oscars, because it's had all the momentum this award season. But the Shape of Water, which was the presumptive potential favorite going into award season, did well enough to suggest that it could still be the Oscar favorite to close this thing out. So, it is what it is. But I think generally when we came away from the SAGs, we had an idea that, of what we were looking at as far as potential frontrunners in the acting category, potential frontrunners in Best Picture. So there's not a lot else I can say about the SAGs other than that. I know I'm being vague and I'm being quick, but that's why I get to the Oscar nomination, because I think that's where we have more that we can talk about. So let's talk about the Oscar nominations, which came out this morning. First of all, I'm going to give, because we crap all over the the Academy all the time on the show. We have our awards next Tuesday, and we'll always go like, oh, you know what, we're going to do better, and we probably will. But let me just say this right now. This I will give them credit. This list isn't the worst I've seen. Okay? I like some of the choices they made. It shows that maybe they're listening a little bit more. Now, granted, some of it might have been due to pressure from society, from other factions, in terms of introducing diversity and more women. I'm sure that played a role. I'm not doubting that. I don't care what the reasoning was. The fact is, there were things that they did that should have been done years ago that they did in this nomination list. So, and what I'm talking about is the recognition of Get Out, Jordan Peele, and Daniel Kaluuya. The recognition of Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird and director, and Jordan Peele and director as well. Those things are very, very good choices. Very good choices. Now, they're very lucky this year that they have movies like Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and The Post, which are 3 movies that have done reasonably well at the box office, that people have seen, that are going to, we figured are going to be nominated. Oh, sorry. That did not work out. So hang on. There it goes. Okay. Sorry, we'll add there. These are all movies that, we're seeing enough, and that I really figured we're going to be nominated for Best Picture or be well represented at the Oscars. So those are movies that we're going to get some attention. But then they add Get Out to it. Big hit of the year. That helps. So they have more going for them this year in terms of what they got represented on this award show. Now, did they still leave a lot on the table? Yes, they did. Woman should have been here. I don't care how you feel about superhero movies now, but if you're going to go all the way with this, campaigning for women, and look, I know if you don't think it's merited, that's fine, but you could at least throw something at Patty Jenkins for director. I think that if they could have went all the way and did that. Okay, I would say that would be my biggest criticism here. The other criticism I have, okay, and look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, okay, and I knew there was not a snowball's chance in hell that this movie wasn't going to be nominated, but I thought 3 Billboards shouldn't have been nominated. But then again, they also nominated 9 movies, so I guess it was bound to get nominated. But again, this movie's been controversial. I've seen the movie now, and I don't have an issue with the acting nominations it's gotten and all the acting wins it's gotten, because I think they've been, Frances McDormand, Sam Rockwell, I think they've been very good. But this movie, I just, it doesn't sit right with me. I don't find it entertaining in a lot of ways. I don't find it amusing. It's supposed to be like a dark comedy. I think and I guess in a way maybe it's really rough because you feel like when it was made that a lot of things weren't happening at that time, and it being out during this time period, okay, is probably the worst thing for it, because it just makes it so it doesn't sit right with you. So I mean, I guess if you feel like I guess it's just a matter of whether you were able to reconcile yourself with the film and just appreciate the film on its own without anything else getting involved in your mindset. Because if you were, then you probably figured it deserved to be nominated. If you can't, then you probably figure it doesn't. So that would be my only other criticism. Otherwise, I think this was a rough year. I sat down to look at what I would nominate, and not just for the Oscars, but like even for the for our film awards. Like, what would I do? And obviously, we always edge towards blockbusters, and everything like that. But I don't just go towards blockbusters. I try to award movies I think deserve to be awarded. You look at my top 10 versus a lot of people's top 10, you're going to see a reflection of different movies. You're not just going to see something that made money. You're going to see a reflection of different kinds of movies. And, I had a hard time this year. I really did. I had a hard time this year because I thought there were a lot of good movies. I thought there were very few great movies. There were a few, but if you got to fill up a whole list, I found that very difficult. So I could understand, in a lot of ways, how we arrived at this. I guess what I'm saying is it's not perfect, but this is probably the first time in a long time that I can look at this Oscar nomination, especially for Best Picture and even Best Director, and go, you know what? I see signs of improvement. I see signs of a breakthrough. I like the direction we're going in. I feel like, and maybe they got lucky that a lot of these movies that they gravitate towards are a little bit more mainstream and did better at the box office. I don't know what it is, but I like this list better than I have in a long, long time. And again, they're not perfect, and there's still movies that should have been here, but it's encouraging, is my point. So, you got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies for Best Picture, for 5 people for Best Director, a couple snubs there. A lot of people were shocked that Steven Spielberg got snubbed for Director. I would be as well. Actress pretty much went like we all thought. Sally Hawkins, Frances McDormand, Margot Robbie, Saoirse Ronan, Meryl Streep. McDormand would probably be the favorite right now, but we'll see. Saoirse Ronan could pull it off. Sally Hawkins could pull it off. As far as director goes, to me, that's a crapshoot. Everybody thinks it could be Del Toro. I think he's the favorite, but who knows for Greta Gerwig? Because even her breaking through into the category, I think she could be the dark horse there. Best Picture right now is probably between Shape of Water and Three Billboards, only because Three Billboards has a lot of the momentum, but the Shape of Water was the presumptive favorite. So those are probably still your 2 favorites there. Actor, Timothée Chalamet, Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Kaluuya, Gary Oldman, Denzel Washington. A lot of people are surprised to see Denzel there. I wasn't. Oldman's got to be the favorite right now because he's done so well this award season. I would think that, obviously Daniel Day-Lewis was his last acting performance. He could potentially pull it off too. I still think it's Oldman and then Kaluuya. I think Kaluuya is probably the guy in second right now. It doesn't seem like Timothée Chalamet's performance, which was great, by the way, and Call Me By Your Name, doesn't seem like he struck enough of a chord and has enough support to be able to be one of the front runners. So to me, it's Oldman and then probably Kaluuya as far as the favorites go there. No James Franco, who I've been saying all season was a shoo-in. Even despite the accusations, I thought he was a shoo-in. The accusations started to come out the week that the final voting was taking place, which is probably the worst timing ever in the world. I'm not going to sit here and cry foul about it. I'm not going to sit here and because obviously there's a lot going on right now. Um, his performance was great. Did I think his performance deserved it? Yes, but obviously there's more going on here right now than just performance. Whether you deserve a nomination for an acting award. Okay, so who knows what's going on there? I'm not going to speculate. Not going to get into all of it. And it's not like I'm a big James Franco fan or supporter here. Okay, I'm not. I try to keep it real with this stuff. So all I will say is this. It is what it is. He wasn't nominated. He wasn't nominated most likely because of that reason. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. There's a lot out there right now, and a lot that has to be looked into and investigated. We'll see what happens. That's all you can really say at this point, because speculation and assumptions and stuff is not something that you want to do. So, but right now I'd say as far as this category goes, Oldman and Kaluuya are the favorites. They're supporting actress. Allison Janney's been doing incredibly well. She's probably, realistically, I could see anybody but Leslie Manville winning this one. But judging by the way that Allison Janney's been winning, I'd say she's the favorite, and probably right up there with her is probably Metcalf or Spencer. A lot of people thought Mary J. Blige was going to be the one early. But it doesn't seem like it's kind of like Timothy Chalamet. It doesn't seem like she struck enough of a chord and got enough support. So I'll go with Janney, with Metcalf and Spencer right behind her. And then supporting actor, going into this whole award season, William Dafoe seemed like the shoe-in front runner, but it's starting to look like Sam Rockwell is the guy. So to me right now, Rockwell is the favorite. Dafoe is probably the next one up. So we'll see. As far as screenplays go, you have original screenplay, Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, Three Billboards. Again, probably between maybe they'll throw something at Get Out there, but otherwise I would say it's probably Shape of Water, Three Billboards. Again there, and then adapted screenplay, which is an interesting one. Call Me by Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Logan, Molly's Game, and Mudbound. Interesting to see Logan there. So it goes to show you they appreciate the screenplay, doesn't appreciate enough the movie, because that movie should have been Best Picture nominee. But I can see it going to Call Me by Your Name, to be honest. I can see it going to Call Me by Your Name. The animated feature have a couple surprises as well, with Boss Baby jumping in there. Well, a couple side that was a surprise. Otherwise, it was pretty much what we all thought would be. Coco's probably going to win it, but it's interesting to see Boss Baby there. Cinematography has Blade Runner, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, Mudbound. Probably going to go to The Shape of Water. I suppose Dunkirk could be up there too, but it's one of those two movies there. And then everything else is, technical categories. You got visual effects, which features Guardians of the Galaxy, Blade Runner, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars, Last Jedi, War for the Planet of the Apes. It'll probably go to either Star Wars or Blade Runner, but and you got original score, which features Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, Star Wars, and Three Billboards. I'm gonna guess Shape of Water will win that one as well. And then original song, which features Mighty River from Mudbound, The Mystery of Love from Call Me by Your Name, Remember Me, Coco, Stand Up for Something, Marsha, and then This Is Me, Greatest Showman. I'd imagine it's either going to be Remember Me from Coco or This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. So, also want to briefly mention this, and my co-host called this before I throw to him. He called this Best Animated Short, Kobe Bryant, Dear Basketball is nominated. So that's a nice little thing, nice little surprise, and a good thing for Kobe Bryant there. So So you called that. It got nominated. So but outside of that, I say the big takeaways. The James Franco snub, which again we all kind of know why. Um, the nominations of Get Out, um, and of course Jordan Peele and Daniel Kaluuya, and then Greta Gerwig and director as well. And so some good surprises. Again, I feel like I really like a lot of the things that happen here. It's not perfect. There's still a lot of things that they didn't nominate that they should have, but progress is progress. Also, nice to see Logan in screenplay. But yeah, I mean, it's not the worst Oscar list we've seen in recent years, that's for sure. Mike, any thoughts?
It's also not the best Oscar list we've seen in years either. So the bad, I suppose. This is why I'm disappointed that Franco isn't is because I wanted to see Tommy Wiseau at the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a shoo-in to win too. And I wanted to see Tommy Wiseau up on the Oscar stage. Now, I understand why Franco's not there. Because you have to take these allegations seriously. Absolutely, you do. And come out at the worst time for him, especially since this was his moment. This was his year. This was his award to lose. That being said, it's understandable why. Of us who are hoping for the ultimate moment of Tommy Wiseau being on an Oscar stage, it's kind of a interesting kind of way it played out.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that's interesting, but it's disappointing in that regard. Like that regard is disappointing. Dear Basketball being nominated is the most interesting thing that I think the Oscars had done. The correct choice and it's probably the front runner if you think about it. Dear Basketball, and it's a brilliant short. It's hand drawn, full orchestra. It's a beautiful, beautiful 5-minute piece. It should win. Should win, but then that's just me. That's just me. Game, one of the biggest anime movies from last year was snubbed. Nobody understands why. The Boss Baby got in. And if you're comparing Boss Baby and Your Name, you have a problem because Your Name is a much better movie.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I haven't seen as much as Your Name as possible, but I have seen The Boss Baby, and I can say, I don't. The fact that Logan was only nominated for adapted screenplay, that is a surprise. Logan being nominated for adapted screenplay. Was nominated for more is an embarrassment. Hugh Jackman not being nominated for lead actor is an embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm going off. I looked at this morning and I promptly forgot about it because fuck the Oscars. Let's see. Molly's Game not being up for anything is a little embarrassing. I think didn't Chastain get in?
No.
No.
Nope.
So Molly's Game not being up for anything is a little embarrassing. That was a very good movie. But we had to get 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Montana in there, or Ebbing, Missouri, or wherever the fuck it is. We had to get that movie in with its disappointment. But that being said, Dunkirk got in, and I'm sure you're very happy.
Mm-hmm.
This could be it could be Nolan's to lose, but who knows? There was something else that I had an issue with. Remember what it is. If I ever remember, I'll bring it up again. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There were some really good things this year, and then there's some really crappy snubs and really boring choices that they made. The Oscars.
Yeah.
And all of the big and exciting movies that people would have actually seen and would support relegated to. So, bad choice there, Oscars. Bad choice.
Like I said, they got some luck on their side because there's a few movies that, were right up their alley that end up doing well. And they threw Get Out in there as well. So in Dunkirk, Dunkirk was another one of those movies that they usually approach and, did well. But, they got lucky in that regard, but that still doesn't mean that they shouldn't have tossed a bone at Logan or tossed a bone at maybe like a Wonder Woman or something like, you know what I mean? But we've talked about it enough. You all know how we feel. So we'll see how it goes here as now the Oscar season, we got the nominations. We'll see what happens Oscar night. And of course, that's the Oscars. We have our film awards, and our film awards will be coming at you next Tuesday, January the 30th at 9 o'clock from Eastern time. And again, we have an important deadline on Thursday, which I'll remind you of in a minute as we wind down. So, well, you know what? If you don't like the Oscars or you don't like what's going on this award season, you have an opportunity here. You have an opportunity here to have your voice heard and reflect if you've been part of the process. So that's the cool thing about what we do. All right, with that being said, we are done for tonight. As always, we've done everything. We got through everything. So as always, as the show winds down, we remind you all of the ways in which you can interact and contribute to the show. Continue to send us your feedback, questions about the show, scheduling the show, reactions, comments, opinions on things we talked about on the show, breaking news items, or topic ideas related to sports, entertainment, wrestling you want us to cover. Submissions for the film awards, which again can be done by email only. But if you have questions about the film awards, you can do it by email, Facebook, or Twitter. Questions for the wrestling show on Thursday, you can submit that by email, Facebook, or Twitter, either before the show or during the show on Thursday as well. So keep all that in mind. So again, email address for the show, itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything people got on our show. And again, as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so that you can follow us anytime you want. Again, Facebook and Twitter, follow us on social media so you can keep track of everything that's going on with the show, like especially when it comes to scheduling or any other big updates that happen. Of course, we interact with people on our social media as well. We post random things, all that kind of stuff. So to make sure that you have access to all that, follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 whenever tweeting regarding our show. And again, on Facebook, just search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and then like our fan page so that you can interact with us and follow us and all that good stuff. You have two ways to keep with the show. Look back at classic episodes. You can check us out anytime and stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411. And once you do, you'll have access to every episode we ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. It's every episode from mid-October 2015, all the way up to tonight's current episode. This episode is available for you to stream anytime you want. So if you're interested in streaming those episodes, make sure you check us out on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411, and you'll be able to find us on Google Plus and YouTube. If streaming is not your thing, maybe you prefer to listen to older episodes of the show, or maybe you prefer to, listen to us rather than see us, or, you're interested in older episodes of the show, or whatever the case may be, you can check us out anytime on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes. When you do that, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites where you'll find every episode ever produced in the nearly 7.5 years been doing the show. So it's every episode from our original Blog Talk Radio run from January 2011 all the way up to from October 2010 to January 2011. Every episode from our Talk Show run from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October 2015. All of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes available in audio format for your convenience. Transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode in audio format for you to listen to anytime you want. Again, in order from the most recent episode, that being tonight, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010. So whether you're keeping up with current episodes, missing an episode, want to look back at an episode from a few years ago, or whatever the case may be, just listen to us on the go, listen to us in general. You can do all that and more on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Podbean and iTunes. Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, and Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on all those sites. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 on all of those sites. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
It is time for bed.
I want to thank myself and our great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching or listening to this later, thank you to you as well. I kind of stumbled over myself there at the end. I was trying to hurry a little too fast. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at my notes. I was kind of distracted by score updates. I got to turn these ESPN alerts off during the show, but sometimes they distract me. But anyway, I made it through, so it's all good. That is it for tonight. Again, Thursday, a lot of things to remember. 2 deadlines on Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. First, winning ballots for the 8th annual In the Spotlight Film Awards are due at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern this Thursday. So make sure you get those in. Most of you have, but those that haven't, get it in by 9 o'clock p.m. this Thursday. Again, by email only at itspotlight401@gmail.com. And, of course, also live award nominations. Anybody that wants to submit a nomination, submit their nominations for the live vote awards. Those are the awards that we're voting on live during the awards next Tuesday. Any of your nomination submissions are also due Thursday, I should say, this Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. time. By email only. So again, this Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. time by email only. Those are also due. Again, at email at itspotlight401@gmail.com. Make sure you email them to us there. That is the deadline. Again, that's this Thursday, January 25th. Live award nominations due, as well as winning ballots for the film awards due. Both this Thursday, January 25th at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Please remember to keep that in mind. Again, those are only available to be submitted by email only. So remember all that. This Thursday, also an all-wrestling show previewing WWE's Royal Rumble pay-per-view. We'll preview all the big matches, talk about them, analyze, all that fun stuff, address questions and comments from the fans. Again, if you want to submit a question, you can do that either before the show or during the show on Thursday by email, Facebook, and Twitter. So keep that in mind. We'll also talk about the big headlines, the Enzo Amore stuff, Raw 25, and how abysmal it was. SmackDown tonight, what's going on with 205 Live, a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll talk about it all on Thursday when we do it, our all wrestling show, previewing the Royal Rumble event, which will be coming up this Sunday on the WWE Network. So we'll do that on Thursday. And again, next Tuesday, the In the Spotlight Film Awards, the 8th annual In the Spotlight Film Awards. That'll be next Tuesday. And then next Thursday will be our usual, sports entertainment combo show. We preview the Super Bowl. We talk all the other big sports headlines, including college basketball, entertainment, box office beat, TV highlights, all that stuff will be next Thursday. And then we'll talk about what's going to happen after next week, and kind of get into what's going to be going on with the schedule and all that stuff. So that's what's coming up. Until we talk again on Thursday, I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and of course a great Thursday. We'll see you back here this coming Thursday, January the 25th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, good night, everybody.